From the highest court in California, Republicans had brought forward a lawsuit challenging the legality of California redrawing its maps. That's obviously going to be a big referendum in front of Californians on November 4th. So they've brought that in front of the California Supreme Court, which has just ruled. Can you explain what happened?
Yeah, the lawsuit got dismissed, and it got dismissed in a way that is humiliating for the Republicans, who have now had their second lawsuit dismissed without the California Supreme Court even asking the state to respond. And that almost never happens, right? I mean, when a lawsuit gets filed, a petition gets filed, the first thing that happens is that the court says, let me hear from the other side. Now, what has happened twice in the state of California is that Republicans have gone straight to the state Supreme Court, made a big deal, right? Made big bells and whistles that they have filed these petitions. And the California Supreme Court says, we don't even need to hear from the state of California. We can just read the document that has been sent to us and realize this is a non-starter and dismiss it. So this is really good news for democracy. It's, by the way, an example of what I have been begging other courts to do in relation to Donald Trump's shenanigans and some of the frivolous lawsuits that the Department of Justice has brought, but we haven't seen them do. But it is just a humiliation for the lawyers and for the parties that have brought these claims in California, only to see them summarily dismissed. And by the way, one of the law firms involved is Harmeet Dillon's old law firm that still has her name. So there's something particularly sweet about that.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm going to ask now, and that is, can't enjoy something for too long without the cynic in me coming out. But what happens in the event that these Republicans tried to jump this case from the state court system, where obviously they didn't get a favorable ruling, into the federal court system, where they will obviously try to get this thing in front of the Supreme Court as fast as possible?
Okay, again, just to be clear, it's not that they didn't get a favorable ruling. They got laughed out of court. I mean, yeah. they literally didn't even get like the courtesy of the other side having to say they're wrong. The court just looked at it and said they're wrong on their own. So I think that is the end of the road for lawsuits that the Republicans will file in the California Supreme Court. I mean, I thought after the first one they'd get the hint, but they now, having had this twice, I suspect they will get the hint. So that, as you point out, brings up the question of, will they start to go into federal court? Will they start to bring federal claims against California? And I assume the answer is they will, right? I mean, they won't be able to bring the kinds of claims that they've brought here, which have been state constitutional claims or state law claims, right? Their most recent one that they just failed on, they said it violated California's single subject rule. And you and I did a video and I predicted that this was not going to get very far because it doesn't violate California's single subject rule. I thought that they might get at least the courtesy of like having a back and forth, and they didn't get that. But I do think there'll be other claims that they bring in federal court. And remember, Donald Trump's Department of Justice has said it's going to bring claims against this process, and those will have to be in federal court. So we're all waiting to see what that looks like. And I suspect, we'll see those in the near future, and also other actions by Republicans who are getting more and more desperate. I mean, you can speak more directly than I can to what the polls look like here, but it certainly looks from their legal posture, they think they're going to lose this referendum and they're going to lose those 5 seats.
So just to kind of for posterity here, is there any legal avenue that the Republicans could pursue here that would prevent the November 4th referendum from appearing on that ballot?
No, I don't think that is any longer an option. I think that their claims in federal court would go to whether the districts that have been drawn somehow violate the Voting Rights Act or violate, racial gerrymandering laws, or they would be claims that the process of drawing a map through the ballot initiative process violates the Constitution. Now, those would all be very fraught claims for Republicans to bring, given that if they were to strike down independent redistricting or ballot initiative redistricting and require it to be done by the legislature, I don't think they'd wind up in a better place in California, and in other states even worse. And their race claims and their VRA claims would fly in the face not only of the facts, because the maps don't violate those things, but also would do real damage to their overall litigating position elsewhere, which seems to be that the Voting Rights Act doesn't really apply anymore.
Mark, is there anything that you can see in this new decision in California that would impact any of the ongoing effort by Texas Republicans to redraw their maps?
No, look, I think that we are in a unfortunate position in that this whole thing is going on. We are
Right.
in a disadvantaged position in that Republicans are probably going to get their way in Indiana after some initial resistance by the Republican establishment in that state. They're going to almost certainly get Ron DeSantis to do their bidding. I suspect they'll get Missouri to do their bidding. So, like, those are all the bad things. Those are all the places where we're disadvantaged. The place where we're advantaged is that the California map is, and its process, if it passes politically, and like I said, that's the tea leaf reading I'm doing. That it appears that Republicans think this is going to pass California, but you are more expert in that than I am. Um, uh, is going to be very hard for them to attack legally. Whereas the Texas maps, the maps that were pushed through there, are extremely vulnerable to legal challenge. In fact, my law firm I've already filed a legal challenge to those maps, and I feel really good about those claims. And that's going to get those challenges are going to get fast tracked. You know, the federal district courts there have said that they're going to hear those preliminary injunction motions on a pretty expedited basis. So you could wind up, Brian, with the Texas maps facing more risk of being thrown out in there than the California maps. Again, assuming that the political process in California works as I hope it does, which is that the voters vote for the initiative. And so if you're in California, please take the steps you need to make sure you are registered to vote and that you know how to vote on that this November, and that you do so.
And I should note that in terms of fighting fire with fire, your firm is litigating these Texas maps, these unconstitutional Texas maps that they're redrawing to further gerrymander their state. One small step that we can all take is to subscribe to Democracy Docket. It's the news outlet Mark founded to focus on everything voting in elections. This is exactly the type of journalism that we should be elevating right now. So if you're not yet subscribed, I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Again, we have to rally behind the fighters, the people who are doing the work where it matters most. Mark, what would your message be then to those governors in Democratic states where there are trifectas, for example, that are very clearly resistant to fighting fire with fire, very clearly resistant to replicating the strategy that we're seeing right now from Newsom, the strategy that we're hearing at least in terms of what they're saying with Westmore and J.B. Pritzker?
Yeah, look, I think every Democratic state has to do everything it can in this moment to protect democracy, and that means redrawing your maps. I think every Democrat at every level, whether you are the senior most elected Democrat in a state or whether you are just someone who considers themselves part of the party, every one of us has a role to play here, and we all need to play it. And that means that elected leadership is going to have to push to the top of their agenda preventing Republicans from rigging the 2026 election, whether it's through gerrymandering or voter suppression or through the deployment of the military. We need a lot of bravery and a lot of courage on behalf of a lot of leaders. And you mentioned a few, J.B. Pritzker, Governor Newsom, Wes Moore, who are doing that, but we need all of them to pick up this mantle. And we need also all of independent media to do the same. And one of the reasons why I am proud to be a part of this series with you going back years and to have worked with you as closely as I have is that no one is doing more right now in that system, in that ecosystem than you. You know, I've talked for some time now about Democracy Docket's YouTube channel. You've been instrumental in promoting it. It finally crossed 500,000 subscribers. And that is because of you, Brian, and because of all of you watching. This audience has lifted on its shoulders, and you, Brian, on your shoulders, Democracy Docket. We would not be the platform we are today without you. We would not be a fraction of the YouTube channel that we are without your guidance and your perseverance and your insistence that you not only grow your audience, but that you pick up a pro-democracy news outlet like Democracy Docket and help lift up it as well. And for those people who don't know how much hard work Brian does every day to not just lift up his own voice, but to pick up people like me, people like Democracy Docket, but many, many other creators, and help make sure that you get access to that information. You should be proud of the work he does like I am. You should be supportive of the work he does like I am. And so please subscribe not only to this channel, not only ring the bell to make sure you are alerted when there's new content, but also look at his Substack, look at his other platforms and make sure you're supporting those as well.
Well, I appreciate that very much. We'll do one more promotion for your newsletter, Democracy Docket. It is something that I use on a daily basis, and this is again exactly the kind of journalism, fearless, independent journalism that we need in this ecosystem. Very grateful for the words there, and again, for those folks who are watching right now, please support Marc's work. I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.